What's up everybody, Will Borza here, the LA Recordist. Today I'm giving you the Howie Weinberg Studio Tour. It's the analog vlog. It's a vlog, analog. Now I know a lot of videos have been shot in this room by myself and others, but as far as I know, no one's ever actually gone through like what's actually in this desk. And I think the best way to do that is actually just to go through like typical signal chain, how we get pre-masters and turn them into masters. That's probably the best way to like actually show you everything that's here, rather than just going piece by piece and being like, this is an EQ, this is an EQ, this is the blah blah EQ, and this is the boring. This is gonna be sweet. Ready? Let's go. So when we get a pre-master, audio starts on this computer. This is a Mac Mini. It's nothing fancy. Basically, think of this computer as a tape machine. It just happens to be digital. Its sole purpose is to put audio into the analog world. On the tail end of things, we use Pyramix to capture and record audio on a, well, it's a MacBook Pro, but it's boot camped because Pyramix is Windows only. So broad strokes right now, audio is going to be coming out of that computer and it's going to be distributed through this Mo28D. This is USB to AES, and this particular one is sending two AES signals out simultaneously to these two converters here and here. This one, totally different sounds. One of them is going to be good for the song, and it's up to us to decide which is going to be the better conversion. So on the DMC Mastering Console here, we can actually make the decision between those two converters instantly by switching between this and this. Do we like this sound, or do we like this sound? 9 out of 10 times we're going to use this one, Mytek Brooklyn, but occasionally this one is just perfect for the job. This is really great on like punk, grunge, rock, crunchy guitars, old school, vintage. This is your guy. Once we've hit the console itself, this console gives you just way more power than any man should have. Input trims, output trims. This is just like a master fader, so you can actually do cool, smooth analog fade outs, which is awesome. Volume knob goes way louder than it probably should. Speaker options, A would be the big PMC towers, B would be the NS-10s, C is the KRK V8s, and D is the Genelecs over there. We're also taking signal out of this through a little headphone amp and powering these guys on the side here, which is, that's the bookshelf crappy car stereo test over there. Once we've decided which conversion is going to be the best conversion on the way into the analog world, and we set our input and output trims, we can turn on the inserts, these inserts, and we can decide which ones we want to patch in which direction through this box down here. This Masterbay is really sweet. It's kind of like a patch bay. Well, it is a patch bay, but it is digitally controlled. So if you decide you want a Sontec and then a SSL compressor, you go like that. And if you decide you really want the SSL compressor and then the Sontec, well, that's just cheating. I mean, you can really hit this thing in any order you want, up to 8 channels, and you can do, it's just, wow, that's amazing. Insert options include Sontec Mastering Equalizer MES-432C/9. This guy is like the godfather of mastering EQs. Honestly, it's magical. It's one of those inserts where you turn it on and you plug it in, and the song already sounds more important and fuller, and it's just something about the electronics inside this thing. Just on in flat or even bypassed, you're going to get a better signal. It's secret weapon, and there's a reason why these things are going for like $20,000 used on Reverb. It's crazy. Okay, little brother to this Sontec, Another Sontec, totally available, brand new on the market right now, MEP-250EX. This guy does not have the same magic properties of this one, but the EQ curves are still quite phenomenal and still used very often here at Howie Weinberg Studios. Just really good shaping abilities. One pet peeve about it though is that these knobs are not stepped, they're completely smooth, and they have this notch right at 0 that they sort of snap into. And if you're trying to just do like half a dB up, that's next to impossible with this thing. This is not a very like precision EQ, this is more just general curve sweeping EQ. Big moves on this. Actually, probably better as a mixing EQ than it is a mastering EQ, but whatever. It's here, and it's awesome, and we use it, and it's cool. We'll come back to this later. This guy is a clone, custom built of a SSL compressor. Sounds good, sounds really good. There's not much else to say about it. Sounds good. If you want to use a compressor, this is a good option. Focusrite Red 3, another compressor option. I've been here 2 years, and in all the time that I've been here, I've never actually seen him use this to compress audio. It's more of a color box where it's either in or out. Similar to this, where you don't actually need to use it as an EQ, it could just be used as a color box. Signal passing through it makes it sound better. Same thing, signal passing through it makes it sound better. I mean, sometimes, not all the time. Like, part of being a mastering engineer is knowing when a particular unit is going to make the song sound better, or when it's not helping the song at all. Quick sidebar on compression. We almost never use compression in the studio. Most of the time, mixing engineers are adding their own mixbox compression, and to add another compressor into the chain is simply overkill. Most mixes that come into this house sound phenomenal and really just need to be leveled up, EQ'd slightly, just to get it to that competitive market requirements. Like, what is the market currently asking for in that particular genre? If the song is not there yet, take it there. Does it need a compressor? Almost never. Okay, so signal has come in through that computer over there, and we chose between this converter or that converter, and then we set the input trims, and then we decided what inserts we wanted to put in, and then we might have adjusted the output trim slightly to compensate if it needed to be compensated for. We can slide through our different speakers and decide, you know, how is it reacting on the NS-10s, how does it feel on the Genelecs, what's the KRKs doing. PMCs are just, you know, big beastly mothers that do amazing things, and it sounds good. Input listening options here, if you wanted to phase the audio or something, or put it into mute, or just solo up the right channel or the left channel, that kind of thing, you can. Almost never need to, but it's there if you need it. And do the same thing on the monitoring side without affecting the input. So like, you could actually be printing audio through the console and switch up your monitoring phase just to check without having to stop the recording process. Oh, and this guy, this Vice EQ, we never use it. It's for show. This thing can only do 44.1 and 48. We're transferring at 96, so this just, it looks cool. Basically, that's why it's here. So then at this point, we need to take what's happening in the analog world and transfer it to Pyramix. So how are we doing that? That would be these blue switches. Here, 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 here. These switches actually switch between what we want to record the analog through, our A to D converter. So this is our D to A, this is our A to D. A to D options, Antelope Eclipse. They don't make these anymore, but they sound great. Another one of these DCS guys going the other direction, and another Mytek Brooklyn going the other direction. And again, you know, if you're doing crunchy punk rock stuff, that's a cool choice. A little more hi-fi, a little brighter and more transient-y if you want, I don't know, maybe hip-hop, that kind of thing. It's pretty cool. Good options. Totally good options all around. Like, you can't choose a wrong choice when it comes to these converters, but there are certainly better choices for each song. So whichever converter we choose here then gets routed to this Mo2 8D on the other side. This one's connected USB to that computer, and whatever converter we chose here is going to be fed to record in 1 and 2 in Pyramix. The last thing to mention would be our metering options. So there's meters here, we don't pay attention to those, they're not the most accurate. There's meters here, which are very accurate, but kind of far away from viewing position, listening position, so we kind of don't check those much. On the antelope, we have 2 different RMS and peak meters, and the top one is measuring what's coming out of the console, and the bottom one is measuring what's being returned from Pyramix. So just right now they're looking pretty much the same, very loud. That's simply because there's no additional processing going on in the digital world. So if I were to turn down the input significantly, now you see that's much quieter, and then if I went over here and turned up the fader on this guy to get more volume, now you can see what I'm talking about in that world. We also have this beautiful lithoscope. This is a DK Audio. These boxes are really phenomenal and really ridiculously expensive. You flip over here to a 3rd octave EQ. Great insight from this guy. I would say this is probably our main source of monitoring. And then on the other side we have VU meters. These are calibrated to 0, so if you're hitting between -7 and -5, you're pretty loud. And then on the digital side over here, these are also VU meters. They come with Pyramix. And then this, the Klanghelm VU meter, I think they're still like $15 or something online, and super cheap, and just one of the best investments you could possibly get for your studio today. Oh, totally forgot, before these A to D converters hit the Mo2, they actually are getting sent to the Waves L2 hardware Ultramaximizer. Yeah, this, so this box is actually digital in, digital out. It's inserted after the analog chain, and the whole purpose of it is that we can get volume into these converters, and we can clip the converters and get that really cool musical just lob off the top of the transients. But if you push too hard into converters, you're gonna get nasty distortion. A little is good, a lot, no bueno. So if we still need more volume after we've clipped the converters a little bit, this L2 inserted digitally after it's been converted is going to allow us to get a couple extra dB if need be. When I'm in this room, when I'm using this room, this is pretty much always on bypass, but occasionally it's a good choice, because if it's up to me, if I'm going to do digital limiting after the analog console, I'm going to use something like FabFilter. And as you can see here, because we're clipping into the converters, it's not crazy transients going up and down everywhere. It's a very clean, solid line, and it's just, I want 4 more dB volume. That is exactly 4 more dB volume. We're not going crazy with the limiter acting oddly because there's weird, crazy spikes in the transients. So it's very clean, it's very musical. It's a good thing. Last but certainly not least is our clocking situation. The whole benefit of having 2 computers is that you can avoid sample rate conversion. Sample rate conversion is when you get a file that comes in at 48 and you need to deliver 96K high res to the label. You need to sample that file up, or in some cases when you're, you get a 192 file and it needs to go down, you sample down. So there's a thing, sample rate conversion is not, it's not fun. It's not like, it doesn't sound the best, and if you're using certain programs to do your SRC, it's actually going to sound really bad, and there's others that are okay, like Isotope RX, and I think actually, surprisingly, Logic has a really good SRC engine in it. But if you can avoid SRC entirely, do it. So what we have here in terms of clocking, we have this Isochrone Trinity by Antelope, and it is actually generating 3 clock sources at the same time. We're only using the first 2. We don't ever use this bottom one, but the second clock is calibrated to whatever sample rate the session files came in at. So if the session files came in at 44.1, we could still capture at 96 and avoid sample rate conversion because it's coming out of this computer at 44.1, it's hitting an analog stage, and at that point, clocking is, well, it's analog, and then it gets captured at 96, and that is our way to avoid SRC. And if it's 96, like this song came in at 96, so like it doesn't matter, but it's still there. 2 separate clocks, the second one governing all things that are tied to this computer, the first one connected to all things tied to that computer, the catch computer. So the L2, the computer itself, the Mo2, all the ADs are synced to clock 1, and then this Mo2 and these 2 DAs are synced to clock 2. And then of course, this whole box is being governed by the ridiculously expensive and super accurate atomic clock, the 10M by Analog Audio, and that's just using like decaying rubidium or something crazy like that to actually stabilize even further a really, really stable clock. So that is, in a nutshell, how this studio operates, how we take pre-masters and throw them into the analog world and capture them digitally on the other side in a better state. So if I missed anything, just write in the comments, ask a question, and I'll try to answer it. Quick sales pitch at the end of this: if you do want to get your music mastered here, head on over to HowieWeinbergMastering.com. You can hit Master with Howie to work with him, you can hit Master with Will to work with me, and if you mention this video, I will give you a discount because you're cool and you found me on YouTube. Anyway, the whole YouTube, like, share, subscribe, there's a bell involved or something like that if you're into that sort of thing. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Peace.